Good afternoon, Dr. Quran and colleagues. This is Jam Mohammed. My presentation today is the final reflection assignment, and it's with regard to our learning materials, our textbook as far as Spani and Herrera and Danielson framework for teaching, which consists of 4 domains: planning and preparation, classroom environment, instruction, and professional responsibilities. So the first domain is planning and preparation. Under this domain, I'm concerned or I am interested in these 2 components. It's demonstrating knowledge of content and pedagogy and demonstrating knowledge of students. These 2 components fit in well with Spani and Herrera's building a community of practice. Spani and Herrera in their last chapter divided the content into 3 main aspects or concepts: building a community of practice, supporting and advocating with and for students, and growing a coalition of edu-activists. So these 2 components, I believe, fall under building a community of practice. We're basically enhancing our knowledge as far as the content and the structure of the discipline, the prerequisites for and the relationships between the disciplines, the content with relation to pedagogy, our knowledge about students, their development and learning process, their skills, their language proficiency, their interest, culture and heritage knowledge and background, and their special needs. Spani and Herrera divided this concept into a cycle of starting with pedagogy, starting with ideology and developing into tackling pedagogy, and then reflection and revision. So starting with ideology, which is basically series, knowledge of series that can guide our teaching as per, again, Spani and Herrera, and the theoretical perspective and research studies that can link language, culture, and identity as per Sue Kim Lee. Series like that are concerned with social identity, as per Pierce 1995 work, Cummins 1986 work regarding culture, language, and identity, Vygotsky's 1978 series of sociocultural approach to teaching and learning, and the cognitive development of the learner. Also, the zone of proximal development, the ZPD concept. And from theory to practice, or from ideology to pedagogy, we tackle or we look at implementing transformative pedagogy and sustainable pedagogy. Transformative pedagogy, as per Tharp and Dalton, the 5 standards to teaching and to effective teaching, which is teacher and student. We're all in this together. We work on to enhancing student knowledge of building onto what they already have, what they built, progress their knowledge and building their skills, and defining their identities and centering their voices. Teacher build complex thinking and assist student utilize critical thinking. Teacher developing language literacy across the curriculum, bringing in multicultural and multilingual education. Pedagogies that approach or encourage positive environment learning, conducive of understanding multicultural meaning and building student identities. And then reflection and revision, which is, in my opinion, and based on everything we learned so far and all the tools and resources we utilized in articles that we read, is 2 components or 2 parts to reflection. Reflection as far as the educator on our best practices, what worked for us, structuring our lesson plan, our course structure, assisting students and providing them with tools and resources, what worked and what didn't, and then going back and modifying and readjusting and revising, and keep and maintain what worked and utilize other tools and resources to replace what did not work. Also on the student side, utilizing artifacts and providing tools and resources to enhance student learning, and then providing feedback to assist the student in their learning. Domain number 2, classroom environment. And classroom environment have 3 components: creating environment of respect and rapport, as far as teacher, again, and as far as students. As far as teacher, our interaction with our students, the language we use, our actions, sometimes body language. And the same thing with student to student. Student interaction with each other, their body language, the action they use, how they interact with each other. Do we foster respect and have students feel comfortable interacting and learning, and no judgment environment or not? Establishing culture of for learning and the importance of content and the importance of learning, setting expectation, short-term and long-term or learning goals and achievements. Student assist student in building pride in what they do and the work they do, and then provide them with the support, tools, and resources and technology and everything available to them to enhance their skills and to build their knowledge. And lastly, the physical environment, which is the classroom, whether we're talking about physical, mental, or emotional disability or intellectual disability, is the learning environment conducive of good work and good learning, building skills or not? Physically, is it easy for students with physical disability to maneuver and to move around, to become part of the learning process, to engage in group activities? Also, students in general, are they able to feel safe in the environment? Are they able to face each other, engage mobility-wise? It's easy to move around the room and engage in activities, have discussions, and become part of the learning process. And of course, support and advocate with and for students. If anything is missing, if the school is not providing a conducive environment, then speak to leadership and advocate for the students to provide these tools and resources. Domain number 3, instruction, and domain number 3 speaks to pedagogical practices like using questions and discussion techniques to encourage student participation and engagement in the learning process. Provide discussion techniques that will help students make sense of their learning material. Engaging students via group activities, via providing clear instructional material, providing them with resources, structuring, and pacing the activities in a way the student can keep up with and make sense of what they're doing. Assessment criteria, providing assessment criteria that is basically very clear, clear rubrics, monitoring student progress, providing feedback to students, allow them to receive positive criticism or critiques from their peers, and then also self-assessment and monitor also their progress. And then finally, being approachable, flexible, responsive as far as the educator, us as teachers, readily available to provide feedback, to communicate with the student. We're approachable so they can ask questions and enhance their learning, and also adjust the lesson plan as needed to accommodate and suit students' style of learning and pace of learning, their pace. Are they advancing? Are they still need support? Should we slow down? Should we move to a different topic? Build a community of practice. Best practices as far as us educators incorporating multicultural education and sociopolitical context. With regard to the sociopolitical context, clarifying our goals, tackling inequality and promoting access to equal education, raising the achievement for all students and providing them with equitable and high quality education. Providing students with apprenticeship and opportunities to become critical thinking and thinker and to become productive and to enhance their knowledge. Culture sustaining pedagogy, which is what we need to, the definition of sustaining pedagogy is basically to foster, sustain linguistic, literary, and cultural pluralism in a democratic project for schooling. And we talked about how these pedagogical practices are supposed to support students. Domain number 4, which is professional responsibilities. The 3 component to it, of course, it coincides with growing, or it falls in with satisfy the approach to growing a coalition of activists. And I believe Spani and Herrera talked about not only making plan and exchanging knowledge and reflection about best practices, and it's also disrupting joining, become an activist where you advocate for new approaches and equality and equal education, social justice. Become a part of certain organization of movements that advocate for changing the curricula to accommodate the multicultural approach to teaching and learning. And for example, they provided the example of Disrupt the Text, or the CUNY of New York SIEB project, multicultural education and bilingual curriculum and bilingual programming. And this, of course, again, reflection on teaching, how accurate, what we should utilize out of our practices for the future or not, and what should we update as far as our teaching practices and relying on specific tools and resources. Becoming a part of the professional community, building relationship with colleagues, receiving feedback, and giving feedback, engage in certain specific project, utilize leadership in schools and colleges to provide students with the tools and resources they need. And then becoming a part of the academic or professional community, in a sense of building our content knowledge and our pedagogical knowledge, and providing feedback and receiving feedback. So are we done? Is the job done this way? I think according to Professor Goran, it's not. We still need to improve and constantly basically continue to learn and to improve our teaching of language and culture in a way that ensure social justice and equity for all. So establish a framework that ensure these practices. So my plan is, plan number one is to embrace the multiple narrative approach to teaching. As per Adichie, basically we all understand the danger of the single story. So refrain from the single story. I think I'm contemplating using a survey. Who do you think you are in the beginning of the semester and at the end of the semester, for students to kind of like figure out who they are and reflect on where they belong, their identity with respect to the society, and what they're learning and how they can progress and improve and affirm their identity. Plan number two, utilize tools and resources available to us, technology like Annenberg, maybe TikTok, poetry, storytelling, to multimodal, multicultural technology, distance learning technology like Kahoot or other tools, games to enhance student learning. Plan number three is to build my knowledge as far as basically the intellectual and research community, becoming a part of the intellectual and research communities. For example, New Jersey World Language Curriculum Framework, constantly staying updated with the framework, the structure, and what are we trying to do as far as teaching approaches, as far as accuracy, as far as using authentic material, real-life context, center student voices, provide them with skills to problem solving, and also, for example, ACT-FL for, oops, that was fast, as far as foreign language education, stay informed and knowledgeable about the most recent research and the framework for developing a good rubric or structuring the lesson plan that fits within the guiding line for enhancing student skills as far as foreign language education. And then stay informed about rules and regulation and government policies that impact student education, like, for example, immigration or certain government practices. The most recent example was ICE regulation regarding deporting international students because they are studying online. So things like that can impact student learning and can become an obstacle in a way of achieving equity and equality and social justice. Thank you very much, and it was fun being part of the class. Best of luck to everyone, and I'm very pleased that I was part of the learning environment for this course. It was very informative.